Hello, welcome to the course PH6 B13E Computational Physics. The contents of today's lecture is taken from Numerical Methods for Scientists and Engineers by K. Shankar Rao. We will continue to discuss topics from Module 2, Numerical Methods in Physics. In today's class, we will discuss about numerical integration. As always, we have some data points x0, y0, x1, y1 all the way to x and yn, which we have obtained by performing an experiment. Here the x values are equally spaced and the data points are connected by a function y equal to f of x, but we do not know the exact form of the function f of x explicitly. Numerical integration is a method to compute the definite integral of this function I equal to integral a to b y dx by using the observed data points. Here a is the lower limit of the integration and b is the upper limit. Okay. So since we do not know the function f of x explicitly, what we do following in the methods of numerical differentiation or numerical interpolation, we will try to approximate this using a polynomial function yn of x, where yn is an nth degree polynomial. Okay, so we know how to compute yn of x using the difference table. After that, what we will do is we will divide the interval ab into n subintervals of equal width. Okay, so we will set a as x0 and b as xn. Then all these points x1, x2 all the way to xn, these are equally spaced, and the width of one interval is given by the step size h. So from this figure I can write x1 equal to x0 plus h, x2 equal to x0 plus 2h, similarly xn equal to x0 plus nh. So the entire interval is divided into n subintervals. Now I can write the definite integral in terms of x0 and xn as I equal to integral x0 to xn y dx. We know the exact expression for y using the polynomial method. So let's write I equal to integral x0 to xn y0 plus p delta y plus p into p minus 1 by 2 delta square y0 all the way to n minus 1th difference step. Okay, so we know this expression. Now this integral is done with respect to dx. Let's convert this in terms of p, right? Because p is one of the important factors here. Okay. So we know the relation between x and p equal to x minus x0 by h. From this I can write x equal to x0 plus ph, take derivative on either side. So dx equal to x0 is a constant, its derivative becomes 0, and h is a constant, so on the right hand side I have h dp. So dx equal to h dp. And in this integral, integration is done with respect to x, so your lower limit is x0, upper limit is xn. So when you convert it in terms of p, so basically you start from the 0th subinterval all the way to the nth subinterval. So in place of the lower limit you have 0, and in place of upper limit you have n. So this integral expression, let's rewrite in terms of p. So this is going to be I equal to integral lower limit 0 to upper limit n. The expression remains the same. Instead of dx I have h dp. So I have h dp. Now let's expand the term inside the bracket. So this is going to be h into integral 0 to n y0 plus p delta y0, and this is p square minus p by 2 delta square y0, and this product is p cube minus 3p square plus 2p by 6 delta cube y0 all the way to the n minus 1th difference term. So this is a simple integration. We know how to integrate a polynomial. You simply integrate each term one by one, then apply the limits. Okay, so first term y0 dp. y0 is a constant with respect to the integration. Integral of dp is p. Apply the limits. Lower limit is 0, so let's not bother about that. You need to worry only about the upper limit. So when you substitute For the upper limit you get n y naught. Similarly, integral of the second term, delta y naught is a constant. Integral of p is p square by 2. When you apply the limits, you get n square by 2 delta y naught. Similarly, delta square y naught by 2 is a constant. Integral of p square minus p is p cube by 3 minus p square by 2. Apply the limits, you get n cube by 3 minus n square by 2 delta square y naught. Same way you integrate all other terms. Okay. So you have this kind of an expression. So let's simplify this. So you can find a common denominator and simplify this term. Similarly, you can do the same procedure here also. When you simplify this expression, you get something like this. I equal to h into n y naught plus n square by 2 delta y naught plus 2n cube minus 3n square by 12 delta square y naught plus n to the power 4 minus 4n cube plus 4n square delta cube y naught by 24 all the way to the n minus 1 difference term. So this is the general expression for integration. Now we are going to talk about two specific methods of performing numerical integration. First one is known as trapezoidal method, which we will discuss in detail today. Second one is Simpson's 1/3 rule, which we will discuss in the next class. In trapezoidal method, once again the interval is divided into n sub-element, and what we will do is we will consider only one element at a time. So even though you have n sub-intervals, n elements, you will consider only one element at a time. So you can say n equal to 1 here. So I can write the total integral a to b y dx in terms of integral of each subinterval. So integral x0 to x1 y dx plus x1 to x2 y dx all the way to xn minus 1 xn y dx. Okay, so that's what I have shown here. So this is your original curve. The blue one is the original function. You need to integrate it from a to b. You have divided this into n subintervals of equal width. The figure is slightly misleading. All the subintervals should have the same width. Okay, so don't bother about that. And you are going to perform integration in each of these subintervals. What's the meaning of integral of a function? Basically, you are going to find out area under the graph. Now, let's take the first subintervals. What are the points here? So the lower points are x0, y0, and the upper points are x1, y1. So here you have a curve. What you do is you approximate this curve using a straight line. So when you approximate the blue curve with a red straight line, this is what you obtain, and this figure, this geometry is known as a trapezium. Now you calculate the area of the trapezium, which is approximately equal to the area under the curve within the subinterval. So basically you are approximating the area under the curve using the area of the trapezium. Now you move to the second subinterval, do the same process. You approximate the curve using a straight line, form a trapezium, calculate the area under the trapezium. So you do this for all the subintervals, and the total area will be the sum of all these trapezial areas. So that's what you are going to do. So this summation equation is nothing but sum of the areas of the individual trapezium. Now one thing you can clearly note from this figure, when you approximate a curve with a straight line, this is not a very good approximation, right? For example, if you look at the second subinterval, there is a gap here. This is the error, right? So trapezial method, in terms of accuracy, this is not a very good method because you cannot perfectly approximate a curve with a straight line. Nevertheless, this is a good starting point. So in the next class, you will see that Simpson's 1/3 is a much better method compared to trapezoidal method in terms of accuracy of the result. But the advantage of trapezoidal method is that this is very, very simple. Why? We will come to know about it in a moment. As I said, we are analyzing each subinterval at a time. So if you look at the first subinterval, so these are my values x0, y0, x1, y1. Now if you construct the difference table for these subintervals, so you have two y values, take the difference of that, you get the first difference term delta y0. This is the only difference term, right? Because you have only two data points. This is the maximum difference value you can calculate. In other words, since n equal to 1, in each subinterval, delta square y0 and all other higher terms will vanish from the difference table. So you have only delta y0. So if you look at the original expression, all these terms involving the higher order difference term, they all vanish and you are having only the first two terms. In other words, your expression becomes very, very simple. Okay. So let's calculate what is the integral for the first subinterval. So n equal to 1. So you have h into y0 plus 1 by 2 delta y0. That's the only thing you have. So integral x0 to x1 y dx equal to h into y0 plus 1 by 2 delta y0. Delta y0 is y1 minus y0. So expand that. Then you simplify this. You get h by 2 y0 plus y1. Same way you go to the second subinterval. Do this iteration. You get integral x1 to x2 y dx equal to h by 2 y1 plus y2. So this is a common form of the expression. If you go to the next subinterval, integral x2 to x3 y dx, that's going to be h by 2 y2 plus y3 and so on. So you find out integral of all these subintervals. And the total integral is going to be sum of all these individual areas. Okay, so h by 2 is a common term, take it outside. The summation becomes h by 2 y0 plus y1 plus y1 plus y2 plus y2 plus y3 all the way to yn minus 1 plus y. Now if you look at this expression, except for the first and last terms y0 and yn, all other terms are repeated twice. You have two y1s here. If you write the next term here, you will find 2y2. Similarly, you have terms all the way to 2yn minus 1. So this is going to be h by 2 y0 plus 2y1 plus 2y2 all the way to 2yn minus 1 plus the last term yn, which I can simplify as I equal to h by 2 y0 plus 2 into y1 plus y2 all the way to yn minus 1 plus yn. This is the simple expression of calculating integral of a function for a given limit using the trapezoidal method. Let's do one quick problem which will illustrate the simplicity of this method to you. Using trapezoidal rule with a step size of 0.2, calculate integral 1 to 2 x cube plus 2x divided by x square plus 2x dx. So the lower limit x0 is 1, upper limit xn is 2, step size is 0.2, which means your x values are 1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2. So first you write down all the x values. Now you need to calculate the corresponding y values. So what is y? Y is f of x. So this is your f of x, right? So substitute x equal to 1. So you have 1 cube plus 2 divided by 1 square plus 2. This is 3 by 3, which is 1. So y value corresponding to x equal to 1 is 1. Similarly, for x equal to 1.2, calculate the corresponding y value. Similarly, you find out all the y values. Okay. So we have all the x and y values are ready. So here, this is y0, this is yn, and all other in between terms you have to multiply with 2, right? Now you write down the equation of numerical integration. Integral a to b y dx equal to h by 2 y0 plus 2 into y1 plus y2 all the way to yn minus 1 plus yn. All the terms are available. Simply make the substitution. H equal to 0.2. So this is 0.2 by 2 into y0 is 1. Yn is 1.5. All other in between terms you multiply with 2. So you get the answer 1.2270. So This is a very simple procedure, right? Now let's do the Python programming for this method. There are two ways you can do this program. One, if you are given a tabular value like the problem we just discussed, how to do the program. Okay. So as always, the starting point remains the same. You have to create the x and y arrays, okay, or list. So initialize x and y data as an empty list. Then you ask the user to input the number of data set, that is n. Then using a for loop having n number of sequences, you input x and y simultaneously using the split function. Then you append it to the x and y data. So basically all these steps are common to your previous program. Okay, so you have a x and y data values ready. Now you find out the step size, which is x1 minus x0. H equal to x data 1 minus x data 0. Now let's find out the sum. We know that the first data point and last data point are added as such. So let's calculate that value first itself. So total equal to y data 0 plus y data n minus 1. Remember, you have n data points, but in a list, the index of the first element is 0, not 1. And index of the last element is n minus 1. So don't write y data 0 plus y data n, it should be n minus 1. Okay, so first and last elements are added, and all other in between terms, y data 1 to y data n minus 2, you have to multiply with 2. So for this, let's use a for loop. So for I in range 1 to n minus 1. So once again, look at this one. 1 is the index of the second element. And what is the index of the second last element? N minus 2. We know that range function will go from the starting point all the way to 1 minus the ending point. So n minus 1 minus 1 will be n minus 2. Okay, so you take all the values from the second element to the second last element. That is your range function. So don't get confused here. This is because the index of a list or an array always starts from 0, not from 1. Okay. Now we can write total equal to total plus 2 into y data I. So basically you have computed all the values inside this bracket. Okay. Now you have to multiply it with h by 2, right? You say integral equal to total tot into h by 2. So this is the value of the integral. Then you simply print the value. So print integral within the given limit is integral. Okay. So very simple. So this is one of the methods if the x and y values are given as data points. On the other hand, if you are given a sample function, then how to do the integration. So for a given function, so let's first define the function. I'm going to choose a simple function y equal to x squared. So let me do the program for this function. First define the function def f of x, then colon. I am having a single argument x here. Then I define the function y equal to x squared, then I return the value of y. Function is ready. Now I need to input lower limit, upper limit and the step size. If you want, you can input one by one, but a better approach is to input them simultaneously using the split function. So a comma b comma h equal to float x for x in input, enter the lower limit, upper limit and step size dot split. So you input these three values separated by a space. Then what is y naught? Y naught is nothing but f of x naught, right? And x naught is the lower limit a. Similarly, what is yn? Yn is f of xn. Xn is the upper limit b. So I can calculate the sum of the first and last element first itself. So total equal to f of a plus f of b. So basically I have calculated the sum of these two elements. Now I need to find sum of all these elements starting from the second element all the way to the second last element multiplied by 2. So remember, I am at the first element A. I need to move to the second element. What I do, I simply add the step size. So A plus B which will take me to the second sub-interval. So that's what I am going to do. X equal to A plus H. So I moved from first interval to the second interval. Now I can find the sum using a while loop, and the condition is x less than b. So as long as x is less than the upper limit, I will find the sum. Okay. Now this is similar to the previous program, total equal to total plus 2 into f of x, and since this is a while loop, I have put an increment inside the loop. So I say x equal to x plus h. So I keep adding the step size and I check whether I am within the upper limit. As long as I am within the upper limit, I multiply it with 2 and add it to the original sum. Okay. So basically all the values within the bracket, their sum is calculated. Now I need to multiply it with h by 2, which I do in the next step. Integ equal to tot into h by 2. So this is the value of the integral. And I simply print the result. Integral between the given limit is integral. So this is the method you have to follow if you are given a given function, if you are given a particular function, and if you are given some data points, then you can follow this particular program. Okay. One thing, if you have noticed here, as I said, you can never approximate a curve with a straight line perfectly. So there is always going to be some error associated with trapezoidal method. Now how do you reduce the error? So if you look at the second subinterval, you can see there is a huge gap between the actual curve and the approximated line, right? So if you reduce the step size, then you can decrease the value of this error. In other words, when you decrease the step size, the approximation gets better. So that is one of the easiest methods. So you can cross-check this. What you do is you take a simple function like the one we discussed in the program. Y equal to x squared. And you know how to do this integration analytically, right? Integral of x squared equal to x cubed by 3. Apply the limits, you get the value 2.333. So this is the actual solution of this problem. This is the analytical solution. We have learned that analytical solutions are the exact solution. Now you can try this problem numerically using trapezoidal method. So this is an assignment for you to do this same program with step size 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3. You compare the result, you know the exact result, and compare the numerical result which you obtain from these step sizes and see for which step size you get the best result. So from this diagram I said when you decrease the step size, the approximation gets better. So naturally you will find that for the lowest step size you get the most accurate result. So you do that an assignment. That will give you a proper conviction about this argument. So that's for today. In the next class, we will discuss about Simpson's 1/3 rule. Thank you.